What is the weirdest thing that you've ever done to your own body? A couple of piercings in strange places maybe? A tattoo that raises some eyebrows when people see it at the first time at the family reunion? If you're really daring, you might even have both. But whatever it is, chances are that it doesn't even come close to being classed as extreme body modification. There's a reason why we usually leave that stuff to the truly hardcore. The clue is in the name. Some of the things people do to themselves in the sake of self-expression is, well, extreme, to say the least. And you know, that's all well and good. Do whatever you want with your own body. But do you think that it ever reaches a point where it becomes just too much? I know a lot of people out there would argue that any kind of extreme body mod is already too much, but I'm not just talking about the aesthetics. What about the effects that it has on your quality of life? What about your health? What about the ethics behind it? Well, if there's anyone out there who is capable of finding out the answers to those questions, then it's going to be the subject of today's video. Her name is Chiara, and she has what some might call an obsession with extreme body modification. I can't imagine why anyone would jump to that conclusion. But before I say anything else about her though, can you please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and be sure to hit the notification bell too. That way, you won't miss any of our other videos. Now, obviously, this didn't start as an obsession. These things rarely ever do. No. Like most of us out there, her interest in this kind of stuff was actually super tame at the beginning. Like a lot of girls her age, she got her ears pierced at 11. Over the next couple of years, she would go on to add to her collection. They all started off as really basic piercings that you would expect to see on a teenage girl. Things like her nose, eyebrows, and belly button. It was nothing too adventurous, even if it was a little bit excessive for someone her age. But the older that she got, the more she started to change. She went from having 1 or 2 piercings to getting multiple versions of the same thing. It went from 1 eyebrow piercing to 8 eyebrow piercings. It went from having them in fairly normal places to getting them in abnormal places, like her cheeks. The ones on her face. But it didn't just stop there either. By the time she was 18, Chiara already had multiple facial gauges, including one that goes all the way through her nose from one side to the other. Ugh, I bet it is cold as hell on earth for her. And of course, the very obvious lip plate. Honestly, that one just looks really uncomfortable to me, even though it does catch a lot of leftovers. Just imagine how inconvenient trying to eat or drink must be when your lips stick out that far. It's bad enough trying not to dribble when you go to the dentist. Somehow though, the lip plate isn't even the worst of her piercings. No, she has 2 more on the backs of her thighs that just make me insanely uncomfortable whenever I look at them. I mean, they look like giant fish hooks. I have so many questions. How's that even comfortable? Do you not feel them when you sit down? Don't they catch on everything you wear? They just look like they were super painful, and I don't think they've ever caught a fish. Not only was she getting way more adventurous with her piercings, she was also starting to branch out into other forms of body modification, mainly tattoos, especially the area around and directly on her face. Oh, and she also got tattoos on her eyeballs! Yeah!
Ooh, Jesus. Ooh.
Which, yeah, okay, they look cool, but just thinking about how much it must have hurt to have a needle go directly into your eye? No, I have a hard enough time putting in contacts. No, thank you. Facial tattoos aren't exactly uncommon anymore. Looking at you, Posty. So I think they're probably less extreme than, well, everything else she has going on. But when you combine them with all of those piercings and the eye tattoos, it all just adds up and makes it even more effective, doesn't it? Okay, so I know that this is all kinds of weird and that there are a lot of things I could choose to question here, but I think my biggest question is actually about how she could afford to get all of this work done in the first place. Even small tattoos can be pretty expensive if you go to a good artist, but she was 18 years old and getting a ton of work done. So how did she afford it all? I think the answer to that is probably a lot more simple than people might realize. In fact, I think the answer is actually really simple. Her boyfriend at the time did it. Maybe for free or maybe at a reduced rate, but it would make total sense, right? He was already her piercer. They met when she went in to get that big old nose piercing done. If I'm being completely honest here, I think a lot of Chiara's most extreme body modification is a result of her boyfriend pressuring her into doing stuff to herself. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that she didn't have a choice in it or anything, because she definitely chose to do a lot of it. She'd already had a ton of work done when she met him. But I don't know, they did an interview together where he repeatedly called her his project. And if that isn't already mad scientisty enough for you, at one point during the interview, they talked about how he had modified her private parts, and not just with a piercing or anything like that, because those aren't exactly uncommon these days, and as long as you take care of them properly, they're safe. No, this guy had done something a lot worse. He had stretched the skin around her area. Now, there is some debate around the translation during this part of the interview. Some people think that Chiara says she has a limp because of what he's done to her. Other people argue that she actually says that the results are a little crooked, which is only slightly less horrifying. Either way, most people seem to argue that she isn't happy about it. One person says, is she doing all of this for herself or for her boyfriend to make him happy? Because to me, she doesn't sound like she's happy. Just imagine for a moment having something this invasive done to you by somebody that you're supposed to be able to trust. And instead of caring about your needs, they're way more concerned in what wacky experiment they can come up with next. Imagine your boyfriend referring to you as a project to be worked on. Not only that, but imagine the number of health issues this could cause in the long run. I know that piercers and tattoo artists have a lot of medical knowledge, but you cannot convince me that this man knew what he was doing, especially with the private part area. But this seems to be a common criticism when it comes to some of Chiara's more extreme body modifications. For the most part, most of her piercings and facial tattoos are fine. They're excessive maybe, and they look different, but there's nothing to worry about. There are some, though, that have serious causes for concern. Mainly her eye tattoos, which are super dangerous because of just how easy it can be for you to go blind if you have them. A lot of people consider it a minor miracle that she hasn't had any problem with her vision yet. And that's if the procedure goes well, let alone what might have happened if something had gone wrong. Not only that, but a lot of people have expressed concern over her lip plate piercing. Not only does it look super uncomfortable, but it also means that the inside of her mouth is constantly exposed to outside elements. If it's exposed for too long, it could lead to a ton of health problems when she gets older, including issues with her gums. The bacteria in our mouths are supposed to, stay inside our mouths. But the criticism doesn't just stop with concerns for her physical health. There's a very famous saying about everybody having an opinion, and this is no exception. Everyone has an opinion about this, from her mom to people she meets on the street to random strangers on the internet. Hell, I know you're gonna have an opinion about her too. And the general opinion seems to be overwhelmingly negative. Her mom probably gets the closest, but even then, the only thing she really says is that she's worried about the way society is going to react and that she respects her daughter's decisions. A ringing endorsement if I've ever heard one. As some people have pointed out, she doesn't even seem to really mean that either. In fact, she seems like she hates what Chiara has done to herself. As one person pointed out, the mom's trying to justify everything when she's obviously not okay seeing her daughter like that. Reactions online have been pretty intense. Most people seem to agree that she has made a huge mistake and that one day she'll live to regret most of the work she's had done. A lot of comments about how she's ruined herself and that she was way prettier before she did anything to herself. A person's value is more than what they look like, but okay, I guess, whatever. Anyway, there are a lot of comments on social media like this one that says, I try to be open-minded, but this is horrifying for a few reasons. Now, as of June 2021, it seems as though Chiara has actually had the lip plate removed. In fact, it seems as though she's had quite a lot of her facial piercings removed, including all of her eyebrow piercings. The nose and lip gauges are still in place, but some of her most recent Instagram posts show that she's taken pretty much everything else out. Don't let that worry you, she's still just as extreme as ever. She's just replaced all the crazy piercings for other stuff. A lot more facial tattoos for one thing, and, well, we can't forget about the bumps on her forehead, which I guess makes sense. In the interview, she does say that she wants to get horns one day. I guess we're just a lot closer to that happening than any of us ever thought we would be. But regardless of how any of us feel about what she's done to herself, the important thing to remember is that Chiara is happy with how she looks. And to be honest, I think there's something pretty inspirational in that, in knowing how other people look at you, how they judge you, and being confident in yourself anyway. Not a lot of us have managed to do that. But what do you guys think? Do you think she needs help, or do you think she looks cool? What do you think she'll get done next? How far do you think she's going to go? Let us know in the comments below.